Well, today I'm going to talk to you about something that is going to change your life and change the lives of the people around you. Because today I'm going to talk to you about the power of praying for one another, specifically the kind of prayer that James invites us to live out. And since we're talking about prayer, I'm going to begin our time together with a word of prayer. So would you join me? Gracious God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts, may they be measured and found acceptable in thy sight. For you, O Lord, are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, when I was in college, I was pre-med. And the summer before my senior year, I was prepping to take the MCAT, the medical college admissions test. And I was living with a couple of friends of mine, and I was working at a restaurant trying to make ends meet. And I can remember feeling like, this is exactly what I want to do with my life. I was excited about going to go to medical school because there was something really profound and exciting within me because I love people and I love science, and I couldn't wait to allow those to live together. And yet there was something inside of me that felt like something was missing. I remember one day in particular, I went home from a study class that I had, and I walked into my room, and almost every single day I had prayed, God, help me to get into medical school. But something changed on this day. Because on this day, my prayer changed from that to one in which I said, God, help me to know what it is that you want me to do with my life. And it was almost as if something totally shifted in me. I was no longer thinking about all of my plans and the things that I wanted to have happen, but I was looking deep within and saying, God, I think there's something else out there for me. And I felt this weight lifted off my shoulders. And I remember calling my parents that day and saying, guess what? I think I want to be a pastor. And I thought they would be really excited. And it wasn't that they weren't excited. They were just like, where did this come from? You see, they didn't see what I saw. They hadn't been living inside of me. And they didn't know and didn't understand all the things that I'd been wrestling with for so long that I'd never had the courage to speak out loud. But I knew. And what didn't make sense to them, and what often doesn't make sense to the world around us, made total sense to me because God was working in and through me. So I decided to become a pastor. And 1 year later, when I graduated from college, I had a biology degree and a chemistry minor, and I thought, what am I going to do? I said, one more year before I could start seminary, and I need to make money, and I didn't want to work in a lab. Now, it might sound really awesome and exciting if you're an introvert to help take some things out of pipettes and work around in a lab and have no time with other people. But for me, as an extrovert, it sounded like a nightmare. So I thought, well, I'm already working at a restaurant. I might as well use this as an opportunity to pay my way. And so I worked at this restaurant, and I have to tell you, I loved it. It was fast-paced, I got to be with people, and it was absolutely incredible. They also had this, if you've ever worked at a restaurant where they give you warm bread, they had this awesome drawer. You would just pull it out, and there was hot focaccia bread, and I could eat some in between waiting on tables and then wash my hands and get ready to go, and it was fun. And I was pretty good at it too. But I'll never forget the time that I received my first negative comment card. You see, you've probably gotten one of these before. We've got a picture of a check that you normally get when you go to a restaurant. And on this left side of this notebook, there was a little place where you could leave comments. Usually folks would say, oh, the dinner was great, or if something was wrong, they would say it was cold, or every now and again, you'd get a nice little note from somebody who might say, oh, my server was awesome. But on this particular occasion, when I first greeted this man who was sitting at a table, it was almost as if I knew I'd already lost. He had a frown on his face. He was frustrated about something that was no longer in stock that we used to have, and I felt like nothing I could do was right. I'm a pretty positive and happy person, so I thought, I'll just try and make it better. I'll try and be really nice, but it was like my energy was making things worse. So he made his way through his dinner, and I thought, okay, this is done. I gave him the check. And when I picked it up, what I saw crushed me. Not only had he left me no tip, but he wrote this really awful note about me. And I went back to the wait station and I lost it. And my manager, who is so awesome, she looked at me and she's like, it's not about you. He was having a bad day. You're an awesome server. But I was like, easy for you to say. It crushed me. And I went home that day and I was like, I just want to run as fast and far as I can to get to seminary because that's really what I'm supposed to do, but I can't. I have a year to wait and I need to make money. And so I went back that next day and I was getting my tables ready, getting everything to go. And I saw him walk in the door and I thought I was going to throw up. I was like, okay, here it is. He's going to come in. He's going to tell my manager that I'm terrible and I should be fired. But what he did next not only shocked me, but it changed me. He looked me right in the eye and he said, I was a jerk and I'm sorry. You were just trying to make my day better and I was having a really rough day and you didn't deserve it. And he handed me a $20 bill and he walked out the door. I never saw him again, but I have to tell you that interaction has stuck with me all these years later. And while he might not have even understood what a difference it would make to me and how it changed my life, I have to believe that's the kind of change that can take place in each and every one of us when we are willing to live out what James calls us to do today.